Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. So, today I thought we would play around with one of the Celebration products. It's called A Friendly Hello, and it includes a stamp set called Friendly Hello. And then it also has coordinating designer series paper. So, this particular product is actually free with a $100 purchase. So you get the stamp set and then you get this really beautiful paper along with it. So I thought we would play around with this today and I'd show you some really pretty little card ideas that you can create with this set and with the designer paper. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. So these are the cards I'm going to show you how to make. They might look a little complicated, but they're actually very easy. You're going to be surprised how easy these are. So we'll start out with these two cards. We'll make these first. I really just wanted to kind of showcase the designer paper. So this is the Friendly Hello. In case you're just joining me, this is what I'm using. I'm using the Friendly Hello designer paper and the stamp set. So this is one of the celebration items that you can get for free with a qualifying purchase. All right, so let's start out with this one. So this one actually I actually was inspired to create this from one of our team meetings last week where we do like a mystery challenge or a mystery card. So we were given some measurements for our designer paper and cardstock, and then we could each create a card based on those measurements. So that's actually what this card was created with. Um, and it's just kind of a fun way to play around with um, different designs because all of us actually created very different cards, but we all had the exact same measurements. So it's kind of cool. Okay, so the colors that I'm using are the same as what's in the paper. So this is Pool Party and black. And then these other cards that I'm using, the colors I'm using are Petal Pink and using some Granny Apple Green. So those are kind of the color theme, I guess, I stuck with. So for this first card, all you need is just a piece of designer paper. So even if you don't have the Friendly Hello stamp set and the designer paper, you can use whatever designer paper you have on hand, or any supplies really that you have on hand. So this first card is just a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of designer paper that I'm putting on just a standard card base. The next thing we did is just cut a 1/2 inch wide, and this is 5 1/4 inches long. And this is just a piece of black cardstock. So I'm just putting this kind of on the side. It almost looks like a little book, which I really kind of like this look. So we'll just add that right to the side. And you can see how it just kind of makes everything pop. And then I have a couple other pieces that we used. So we cut a 2 by 2 inch piece of this just white cardstock. And then I cut two little squares at 1 1/2 by 1 1/2 from black cardstock. So these are actually just going to go behind this white piece, just like this, just to kind of give it just a fun little look. But before I do that, I have to do a little bit of stamping here. So I am going to use these little dots that came in this stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp them with some Pool Party ink. See if I can get this all on screen here. Because what I did after this is I just cut out one of those little bird images from the designer paper. So I'm just going to kind of turn this and get a little bit different look as I go around. But like I said, you can use this design really with any set that you have on hand. You can embellish the center of this card with anything. All right, so I'll move this out of the way. Okay, so the next thing I did is just take these little square pieces and I'm going to adhere them kind of off the corner of this larger piece here, just to kind of give it, just a little bit of matting. And then we'll add the other one off this corner. So it's just kind of a fun little design. Something different. We're always looking for something just a little bit different. So that's what it looks like. And then I cut out this little bird from this designer paper. So I just kind of used my scissors and just went around the bird. You can see I just left a little bit of blue all around the bird. So I didn't cut directly on the lines, but I thought it made a nice little embellishment. And actually, I'm going to pop this up, I think, is what I did with the last one. So we'll just add a couple dimensionals here so you can see it. So you can glue this straight down, or you can just pop it up and give it a little more depth and dimension. I like to pop things up. And I decided not to put a greeting on the front because I just thought it looked really nice just with this. So I just kind of wanted to leave it as is. I'm going to add just a couple embellishments here. I'm using some of these new polished dots. So I just kind of put these right on this little strip. So it kind of reminds me of like a little notebook or something. And I might have put that one up too high, but that's okay. It'll work. So just kind of eyeball it and push these down. So we'll put that on the side. And then the last thing I did is just added just a little bit of twine. I like the look of the twine on here. So let's wrap this around. This is the only one that I have a wrapped around piece of twine. So let me put this on quick. So I usually just wrap it around twice, but you can wrap it around, more than that if you want. And then just tie the ends into a little bow. So that's what we're going to do here. And I think I've told you this before, but I like to tie this upside down because the bow tends to lay better when you tie it upside down. So you can use twine, or you can, if you want to use ribbon, you can use ribbon. Kind of partial to twine lately. There we go. And then you can just fluff it out. So it's a pretty simple card design. And like I said, you can do this with any pattern papers that you have on hand. So it's a great way to use up your pattern paper. And it's just really pretty. And then on the inside, I just used up some scrap pieces of the same designer paper just to kind of decorate the inside. I'm not sure what I want to use the card for yet, so I haven't stamped anything on the inside, but that's the first card. That's what it looks like. Pretty cute. Let's set this aside here. So the second one features the designer paper again. So this one I did in Petal Pink. And I wanted to showcase this beautiful paper because it has this bird and it has all these little floral images all over. So I wanted to really just have the paper be the focal point. So I have this is a 3x4 inch piece of the designer paper. And then I matted it out on a 3¼ by 4¼ inch piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. So this is really our focal point for the card. And then in the background, what I did Let me move some of this stuff out of the way here. I just used some Petal Pink ink, so the same color as my card base, to create this floral design behind my designer paper. So I'm going to move that out of the way because I need a little bit more room here. So I just used some of the images from the set. So there's this floral image, there's two of them together. And I really basically just went around the card, just kind of the edge of the card, because you don't need, you know, you don't need to fill in the whole card because you're going to have a focal point there. I just kind of went around the edge and stamped this image. And I left a little bit of space in between. Because then I'll stamp another like smaller image. So I just went around with that floral, and then there's this little tiny kind of foliage type image that I just stamped in between, just to kind of give it, you know, a little bit more stamping, different images. So you're really just creating a border with your stamped images. So that's what the border looks like. I'll bring the card back so you can see it. And then I just took this piece that I created, and this just goes right in the center, so you can see how it kind of accents, you know, the designer paper really nicely. And again, you can do this with any floral image that you have on hand. It's just a nice way to use your stamped images and showcase your designer paper. Then I just cut this is a 3.5 inch long, and it's about 3/4 inches wide. Cut a piece of Petal Pink cardstock and then just stamped a greeting on it. This is one of the greetings from the set. So this one I'm just going to pop up on the card, and I'm going to put it right below this bird image. And it's just going to kind of hang off the side a little bit. And then we'll add a couple embellishments, and that'll be it. So again, this is another fun way to use your designer paper, especially if it has just some really pretty patterns like this. It just creates a really pretty card. So we'll add a couple of these little dots. And then I just took a little bit of twine and I tied it into a bow. So this is just 2 pieces of twine that I tied together. And I'm just going to add this to the card with a little glue dot. And just add it right up on this corner so it hangs down. And that's it. How pretty is that? And then again, on the inside, I just used a little designer paper. You can stamp some images too on the inside. Some of these floral images would be pretty on that white cardstock on the inside. So that is the second card that I have for you. Pretty simple so far. They're all pretty simple, I promise. All right, so now we'll do this card. So this is similar to the one that I just showed you, except for I'm just going to use some different images to kind of create like a little frame on my card front. And then I did a little bit of layering with some of the designer paper, and then of course that bird image. So this particular set has this really beautiful image of this bird here. So that is what I'm going to be using on the last couple of cards. So let's stamp this first. We're going to grab this. So this time I'm using Pool Party ink. So let me close up my other one here. And I'm using little smaller images to kind of go around the edge of this piece of cardstock, the edge of my card front, I should say. I'm just going to clean off this image because we're going to be using the dots. So we'll just go around and whoop, and we'll just use the same color again. So this, I'm using Pool Party. And I'm just, as I'm going along, I'm just kind of flipping the flower. That kind of sounds funny, doesn't it? Flipping the flower. But I'm kind of flipping it around so that I get, so so it doesn't look like I'm just stamping straight down the cardstock, if that makes sense. I'm just kind of flipping this around. See how the flowers are going different directions. And I just do this all the way around. And then on this side, it probably doesn't matter too much because they'll get covered up, but we'll just do it like that. Okay, and then I just took these little dots and stamped in between. So I'm using the Pool Party ink again, and I just kind of turn these different directions, stamped them in between. And you can already see how it's, how it's looking. It just gives it a really cool look. And you can fill it in, as much as you want. This I'm not too worried about because that's going to all get covered up. I think that looks pretty good. I got everything. Okay, so let's move this out of the way here. Bring the card back so you can see what it looks like. And then this I just used one of my dies. I think this was from the Hippo and Friends die set. It's got that little scalloped rectangular shape. So I cut out the designer paper using one of my dies. So that's what I'm going to add right in the center. So this is the same paper that I used on that previous card. I'm just using the back side. It's got a different pattern on it. So we'll put that right in the center. So that's basically what the card front will look like. And now we'll create this little piece here. So I'm going to bring this back. So this white piece is just a 2 3/4 by 2.5 inch piece of white cardstock. And I'm going to stamp my little bird on here. And I'm going to use some Memento ink because we're going to do some coloring with stamping blends. I'm going to stamp this little guy right in the center there. Get a good crisp image. And then I'm going to use some of my stamping blends. So I have Pool Party and I have Petal Pink and some Granny Apple Green. So you can use any coloring tools that you want. I'm going to start with the bird. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the dark Pool Party, just kind of in different spots on the bird. And then I'm going to follow it up with this light Pool Party. So there's 2 different shades. And it just kind of gives you a little bit of depth and dimension when you use the 2 different shades. And you might not be able to see it that well on camera, but in person you can really tell the nice shading that's in there. And then our little Petal Pink. I'm just going to color these flowers in with our Petal Pink. So I really like using the stamping blends. I know you guys know that. But they're just really easy to color with, and you don't have to be perfect with them. I think that's why I like them. Doesn't leave any lines in there like coloring with other markers tends to do. So now I'm just adding a little bit of Granny Apple Green So the nice thing about these Stampin' Blends is they have, you know, like this paintbrush tip that I'm using, and they also have a different tip, like a ballpoint pen tip too. So you can use either side. I like the paintbrush one. All right, so now we're going to add some dots to this again. Let me clean off my stamp here. So this time I'm just going to add some of these petal pink dots all over. Let's turn it this way here. And I think this just kind of draws out, you know, that color that we used, the petal pink that we used on the florals. And it just looks really pretty. I don't know, I like the splatter images. They just add so much to a card, in my opinion. There we go. See? All right, so now we can add this to our card front. So we got a cute little focal point there. So I'm just going to pop this up with a couple of dimensionals. We'll add that. And again, you can use this card layout with any supplies that you have, as you can see. You know, you just need some designer paper and a stamp set of your choice, and you can put any focal point on this little piece of paper here. So I like showing you guys different layouts that you can use over and over again with other supplies. So if you have this set, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. You can get creative with some of the sets that you have on hand. All right, so now I have another little bow that I'll add here. So this is just 2 pieces of twine tied together to create that little bow. And then I did a little bit of embossing here on just some black cardstock. I just did some embossing with some white embossing powder just to kind of make this pop a little bit. So I'm just going to add a couple little dimensionals on here. I have to cut my dimensionals because I want this to kind of wrap around the bottom here, like the bottom of this. So I'm going to put my dimensional right there. And where's my other one? And then the other one I want right on the edge like that. And then I'll just add a little bit of glue to the rest of this where there's not going to be a dimensional, which will be the top part. So we just want this to go right across the bottom there. And that's it. And then again, I just added some designer paper on the inside, so just to decorate the inside. But how beautiful is that? Just very simple, but just a beautiful design. All right, so that is card number 3. And then the last card, I kind of cased the catalog a little bit. So this is very similar to the one that is in the catalog here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's very similar to this. I just changed out the designer paper and used some petal pink in the background. So I kind of changed the colors a little bit. So let me grab this. So with this one, I'm just using white cardstock for the base of the card. And then I just cut a piece of designer paper to cover the whole front of the card. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And so I'm just going to add this on the card front. So I like using liquid glue for this because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to slide this around so I get the card front covered. There we go. All right, so I'm going to set this aside for the moment, and then I'm going to bring in, we're going to do the stamping. So let's see, I forgot how big these pieces are. Let me measure this quick. So it's about 2 1/8 by 4 1/4 inches, this piece is. So this is the one we're going to do our stamping on. So it's going to be very similar to what I just did with this bird, because I really like this image. So I'm just inking it up with some Memento ink, and we'll stamp this off to the side here. And then we're going to use that smaller one. I use a smaller image. Whoops, got it on my finger. And we'll add this one. I don't think I got it all the way. Hold on. We'll add this one up here. And then we'll add a little greeting down here. Now you can add your greeting first if you're worried about, you know, leaving enough space for your greeting. It would be helpful if I got ink on here. There we go. All right, so now we'll just color it the same way that I colored the other one. So I'm just using Pool Party for the bird. So this is just the dark and light shade. And I'm just doing a little bit of blending with the lighter shade. And then we'll add our petal pink. To all of our floral images. And then we'll do our Granny Apple Green. It just amazes me how just a little bit of color just makes everything just pop. It's just so pretty. Okay, so that's our image. So we'll get this out of the way. We'll bring back our card front here. And then, let's see, I have a piece of Pool Party cardstock. This one is about 2 1/2 by 4. So I'm just layering these two together. So we'll do that. So this just adds just a little bit of matting behind there, kind of a little bit of pop of color behind this white. And then it really just kind of pops off the page there. So I'm going to add some dimensionals on the back here. We'll give this a second to dry. And I think I'm going to add quite a few. And then I'm just going to use a little doily. This is one of the doilies, the Heart and Home doilies. So it's blue on the back side, but on this, or I should say this is the front side. On the back side, it's white. I like to use the white side a lot. I like the colors, but the colors don't go with what I'm using right now, but the white does. So you can use the white side of those doilies. So we'll just add that to the center. And you can see it just kind of pops up behind this piece. And we'll just add this across. And that's it. And then you can add a couple little dots. Let's see, which ones did I use? I think I used the pink ones. You can add these right to the center of each of these little floral images. And there you go. So how pretty is that? Just very simple, but just really pretty. And then on the inside, again, I used some of the designer paper. And then you can add birthday messages on the inside, either handwritten or stamped. All right, so let me bring the cards back so you can see them all together. So here are all the cards that we made today. So, like I said, you can use these card designs with any supplies that you have on hand. Of course, they work really well with the Friendly Hello stamp set. So, for those of you that maybe just hopped on, this is one of the celebration stamp sets that you can get for free. With this is actually with $100 purchase because you get the stamp set and you get a pack of the designer paper. So this designer paper here. So you get both items for free with $100 purchase. So it really is a beautiful set of products, just beautiful paper. I love the images in the stamp set. So I hope you guys enjoyed these card ideas. And I hope that you are able to use them with the Friendly Hello stamp set or with any supplies that you have on hand. So, all right, you guys, that's all I have to share with you today. So that was kind of a lot, I guess. So I hope you enjoyed them. Have a wonderful Sunday and a great week. And I will talk to you again next week. Take care, everybody.